Well, Chris, here we are on dude.
Oh shit! You know what I just realized?
What's wrong?
The way that
there's no.
I start off by saying "Go Blue."
We got none of it.
I didn't.
We got
that just dawned on me.
We got none of it. So that's what I was going to start with. So obviously a little different intro there. We are attempting to alleviate the echo issues that Chris has had. Thought maybe by running it straight through the computer. I use a separate program called Loopback that allows me to have the soundboard and some other stuff all integrated. We're gonna try to change it up a little bit to preserve our quality of pod, because last time was obviously pretty bad. I know, Chris, you usually have like, I don't know, a time or two during the podcast with the echo, but last time it was like the whole damn show.
Could not get rid of it, and
no, I don't get that.
I think it's something that we can fit. Well, hold on, you boy Blue. Hold on a second, because what Brandon is saying is that the issue is on his end, not on my end.
It seems to be. It seems to be.
It's with what we're doing with the soundboard stuff, and so I think, once we have a little bit of time to get it figured out, and who knows, if the echo comes back on this show, then we know that's not it. We've eliminated that as an issue, but certainly didn't want it to go the way the last show went, where essentially I just had to sit back and drink beer for the remainder of the show and watch Brandon talk. I mean,
the switch to the phone last week pretty much confirmed that it wasn't like your hardware or whatever. It was something was going on, but it's never happened that bad before. I don't know why it was that way.
Bad. I mean, anyway. I think that's the first time we've scrapped a show altogether.
I didn't
share it, didn't post it, didn't, it's not even really available.
I didn't publish it. I mean, it's still on YouTube technically. I mean, I could go and delete them, but like I didn't put it out there on the podcast page. We didn't write an article for it. We didn't push it after the fact like we always do. It's a bummer. I mean, we're 170 shows in, and that's the only time we've had to do that.
How many it is?
Yeah, this would, if we had counted that last one, I think this would be 168. So wow, yeah, we're right there. Right. Yeah, no TFG drops. We're gonna have to make it from scratch. We still have all the same segments, quite a few different topics to talk about, then TFG, then burning questions, and we'll kind of get out of there. If the show ends up being a little shorter, cool. If not, cool. I mean, we'll roll with it however we have to. Wanted to address the Friday absence, Chris. Basically just kind of taking a little break here while we've got some time to take a break. Holiday season is upon us. You were out running around, spending a bunch of money on the kids. Everybody loves doing that. And our Friday show is pretty much all about what's coming on Saturday. It's previewing the Michigan game. It's looking at the national slate. It's making predictions. And obviously there's nothing going on. So that's why we kind of scrapped Friday. We'll see if Friday needs a show this week, but we definitely have plenty to do today. Wednesday will be around again for fan-led Wednesdays, and we'll keep rolling through that way. But yeah, if this alleviates the echo problem, then we'll keep doing it this way, because obviously that's a little more important than a couple fun. Although no Tim the Toolman Taylor, no torso, no pulling it out, showing it to you, no teats. I mean, it's all gone, dude.
It's difficult. It's difficult not having that as a part of the show, like I said. But what has been more difficult is having to go in, go out, go in, go out, and try to get rid of this damn echo issue. So
yeah, I will say it, but last thing here on this intro before we get into our actual podcast. That countdown really reminds me of like back in the day, like going to church. So I feel like we need to bust in when the countdown's done. Like, our God is an awesome God, he reigns. No, nothing.
I am not sure about that one.
All right. Well, that's what it reminded me of. I felt weird. The music just stops. The countdown just stops. And here we are. We usually have a little music to kind of rap over a little bit. We've got just want to start by saying "Go Blue." We've got all of that stuff.
We got some stuff.
Now it's gone. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes a little bit here, Chris. I think I have like 7 topics to talk about before we get into TFG, before we get into burning questions. So we'll see how it goes and how long it takes us on each one of these. A couple of them are going to be pretty short. A couple other ones might be a little lengthier. So here we go. First one, Chris. George Rooks hits the transfer portal. Second-year defensive lineman. Was a pretty big-time recruit. I mean, I remember when Michigan landed him. I think he was from New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. And it was kind of a big get, and he was wanted by some pretty big-time schools. But he played 67 snaps in 2 years and recorded a tackle. So, like, you know, you never want to like bash a kid on his way out. And we've talked about that earlier this week. There's certainly a way to do it. You want to leave on good terms. We've seen a couple players choose not to do that. But you know, George Rooks, this is a depth chart thing. This is a kid who's got 3 years of eligibility left and he wants a place to play, and nothing wrong with that. But you know, you don't want to say it like this, but like Michigan's not going to miss his presence on the roster. I guess just trying to keep it, you know, keep it as realistic as possible there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you always want to see because you're never sure how a career is going to turn out and transpire when guys stick it through. And you know, I think you've seen, you know, there's a number of examples of guys like that on Michigan's roster. Mike Sainristil still is one of those guys. Khalil Mullings is one of those guys. Hell, Hassan Haskins back in the day was one of those guys where he Mike Barrett transformed themselves into something. And so, you know, you would love to see guys like that stick it out, but hey, man, in today's world with the way the transfer portal is, and if you've got an opportunity to go and play, and I think that goes back to, you know, what we talked about last week on the show when it came to like Eric All or even Cade McNamara. Like, I don't blame anybody, any kid who thinks they might have a better opportunity. I mean, that's a gamble you make. That's a choice you make, but it's a choice you should be able to make. I support kids being able to do that. So, yeah, man, again, it's not one of those things that I think is going to make a huge impact on the program, obviously, but it would be nice to see some of these guys stick out and see what they could become at the University of Michigan. So no hard feelings.
Yeah, I mean, writing on the wall a little bit here. Mason Graham played a ton of football. Kenneth Grant played a good bit. Rayshon Benny's the same age and played quite a bit. I mean, like, you know, at some point you just kind of got to look like it's going to be really hard for me to pass those guys over, and I would like to play some football. And like, you can't hate on a kid for that. Like you said, you never know. I mean, some guys don't develop or hit their stride 2, 3, 4 years into their college career. But in this case, yeah, no hard feelings. Go find a better spot, better fit, get on the field, play as much as you can. You never know what he might turn into. I mean, we've seen that with various guys at different stops, not just at Michigan. I mean, this is everywhere, every single place, especially with the, you know, the prominence of the transfer portal now and guys looking to make their way. I mean, it just happens, just kind of part of the game nowadays. And we will see if we have to revisit this. If George Rooks sends a shot across the bow and is talking trash about everybody in another day, then maybe we will have a different thought. But as of right now, all the best wishes to him. Hope he finds a good landing spot and really makes something out of his college football career. On the flip side,
there's
a guy that we kind of and I don't. Chris, I will defer to you because I have not seen the podcast in its entirety. I'm talking about Cade McNamara, went on with Jordan Palmer, and I think there was another guy that was
a turd, by the way. It's the first time I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sitting around watching Jordan. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure who Jordan Palmer was. Didn't really know he existed until the podcast came out. Then I Googled him. I'm like, oh yeah, his brother was the guy who made a name for himself. And
Carson Palmer's illegitimate, correct. Unimportant, not illegitimate. They're actually brothers. Unimportant brother would be the word to use. But I mean, I'm not trying to like bash him, but
why not?
He brought it on himself. He brought it on himself. There's no doubt about it. And again, I'll defer to you more on this because we defended Cade a lot and actually used Cade as like the measuring stick of what Eric All should have done. Yeah. And while I do feel like Cade was kind of baited into a lot of what was said by Jordan Palmer and the demeanor and the questioning and just the overall setup of that interview, now it kind of looks like Cade, he just don't do that podcast, man. Because now it looks like he kind of took some shots, even though I do think he was like crafted into saying things that like maybe he didn't even really want to say on his own. I don't know. It was a strange vibe. Here's
the thing. Cade's a grown ass man. And if somebody's trying to bait him into saying something, like I think he's at a point in his life where he knows and understands that. And yeah, was Jordan Palmer, trying to instigate and trying to make waves by the way he repeatedly referred to JJ McCarthy as the other guy, bringing up the fumble that McCarthy had against Michigan State, saying that he went over what Cade accomplished and then pretty much, said it thankless by the Michigan football fans. I mean, just on and on to start that interview off. So I think he set it off with the wrong tone. But, again, Jordan Palmer to me is a nobody. He's irrelevant. But Cade McNamara, a former captain on the Michigan football team, we were singing his praises when he announced that he was transferring. I remember writing the article about how his legacy was cemented at the University of Michigan. And even though it didn't work out the way that maybe he had hoped, that what he did for the 2021 team, not just on the field, but what he meant to the locker room, what he meant to help change the culture, bring like guys like Mike Sainer still over to the program. After I watched that interview, I walked away with a totally different impression of Cade McNamara. And one of the reasons was, as Jordan Palmer is taking these digs at JJ McCarthy, Cade McNamara sits there silently. There's no pushback. There's no hey, JJ is this or JJ's that. And I get he's probably sour because he lost his job. But then Cade McNamara went in to criticize, the way that they handle medical issues at the University of Michigan. He went on to criticize NIL. And I'm pretty sure that Cade had a deal with Brady Brand. I'm pretty sure he had a deal with Ping. I'm pretty sure he was driving around in a vehicle that wasn't his. I mean, I think Cade McNamara, he might not have gotten rich off of NIL at the University of Michigan, but he certainly wasn't like a walk-on who wasn't getting shit from NIL. He benefited from it, but he chose to point NIL in another direction. Used an example as, Michigan trying to lure back a couple of offensive linemen that have the opportunity to go to the pros by basically making empty guarantees that, they're going to make some money, if they opt to stay. To me, it was surprising that even though things didn't go the way he wanted them to go, that he had nothing positive to say about his Michigan experience. It was only negatives. And I think when you have an opportunity to go out and prove that you're a leader and prove that. And he said one of the biggest achievements so far to date of his career was being named captain at the University of Michigan. That didn't look like a guy who was a captain at the University of Michigan. That looked like a guy who was bitter. It looked like sour grapes. I know he's going to Iowa with all the intentions of proving he's not a game manager. Good luck with that, because Iowa is game manager city. And it seems like Cade McNamara is tailor-made for an offense like that. And so fingers crossed these two programs meet in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, that would make for quite a storyline. And yeah, I think you hit on a couple good points there. It's not necessarily, and look, you and I have also criticized Michigan's NIL approach, and so has Hunter Dickinson. And so that's not really the point. It's the direction and the way that Cade McNamara did it, while kind of just ignoring the fact that he probably did do pretty well with NIL. Yeah, maybe it wasn't.
Did he have a crypto deal in there too?
There was. Yes. So like, I find myself a little mixed on that, because like it probably didn't have much to do with Michigan, other than the fact that you were the starting quarterback at Michigan, which certainly helped get you those deals. I mean, like, it wasn't just because you were Cade McNamara, it was because you were the starting quarterback at Michigan. And yes, did play well and led them to a lot of things that they hadn't done in a long time. That's whatever. Leave that one off the table if you want. I don't care, because I don't think Michigan's doing NIL very well. But it was the other stuff you mentioned. Just not much praise, not much love for his other teammates and for different things that happened at Michigan. And now it's been pretty clear
that they weren't straightforward with him about his injury, that they wanted him to play injured. I mean, there was a lot of things he said, and if you're the Michigan medical staff, you really can't push back on things like that, because you can't discuss that in an open forum. Yet he can go on a podcast and basically, say everything he said, and Michigan's kind of got their hands tied behind their back. And, similar situation to what Eric All did. Ironically, Eric All in Iowa City with Cade McNamara taking in a basketball game together. So I'm, hopefully those two are going to be happy out there in Iowa City. And again, it's unfortunate, because I look at the way that I viewed Cade McNamara and Eric All prior to the last month, and my interpretation of who they are completely changed.
Yes.
Based on the way they chose to leave. And I think that's really unfortunate. And I hope other people like a George Rooks or anybody else that might enter the transfer portal. And I think there's going to be more guys from the University of Michigan that enter the portal here once the season's complete. Guys who are, relatively, I don't want to say notable, but I mean, they're guys who are known. I think they're going to enter the portal. And I just hope that they see, Cade and Eric as an example of how not to leave. If you've got something to say and it really is a big issue, then say what it is, come out with it. But if you're going to be cryptic, or if you're not going to say what the entire issue is, then just thank everybody for your time at Michigan, move on, and then go improve it on the field next year instead of talking about it on Twitter.
Yeah, it just, like I said, we were we were heaping quite a bit of praise on Cade, like, oh, he did it the professional way. Like, look how he went out, Eric. Oh, you should have took notes. And then it's like, a little premature on that. But again, I don't want to put all the blame on Cade though either, because I feel like he was very, very much so like directed it that way by Jordan Palmer, who has kind of like a vested interest in Cade because he was like this quarterback coach, and like it kind of comes back to like he's
the
trying
other
to make.
Guy, I think the other guy fumbled against Michigan. What the hell?
He's the other guy's
also 12-0. The other guy just won a Big Ten championship, and the other guy's getting ready to play in the college football playoff. So put a little bit of respect on that man's name.
He's trying to make Cade look better and downplay what JJ did, like for his business of coaching quarterback. Which, like, I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like,
by trashing another kid.
Yeah. Yes. Like by trashing another kid in order to make Cade look. He trashed JJ to make Cade look better, to make his product look better, which is trash. Yeah. That's just, I don't have respect for that. And so it was just kind of a bummer all the way around. I
know where I'm sure that Iowa offense is going to be in fuego in 2023 with Cade and Eric all lighting it up.
Yeah. Did Eric all commit there? He's just visiting right now, right? But it kind of okay. It's trending that way. It feels like it. Yeah. All right. Another big bummer, dude. Actually, like a really, really somber note happened just a few days ago. Anybody who's a Michigan fan obviously saw this over the course of the last year or so. But Demetrius Michi, he kind of got, he got the number 45 jersey with Michi on the back and kind of became like an honorary member of Michigan's team. Scored a touchdown at the big house in the rain, like practice coming down. Jim Harbaugh pushing him in his wheelchair. The team went nuts. He went nuts. Unfortunately, lost his battle to osteosarcoma and passed away on Friday, December 9th. So just a few days ago. And Michigan, did a lot. They honored him in a lot of different ways, stuff all over their social media, obviously reran some of those pieces. Tom Rinaldi did a piece on it. I can't remember what game that would have been for, or when
Maryland.
That exactly.
Maryland
game. There you go. And just a bummer, dude. I mean, you and I were texting back and forth before the show started and just coming up with different topics. And then when you look back at that story and, he found out he was a big time football player, like a 6'5", like 250 kid, had some MAC offers, had some interest from some D1 schools before his junior season. And so he was, who knows what he would have trended or turned into as a prospect, but even bigger than that, like seemed like an awesome kid, had a young child, and a little bit of knee pain, which, dude, every football player in America is probably dealing with at some point or another, and got it checked out. And it turns out to be cancer, and the tumors just spread. Like, I mean, dude, watching him talk about how he found out there were tumors like in his back and his jaw and his, like, it just, dude, kid's like 17, 18 years old. It breaks your heart, man. And then, it just, even his mom said, like, we're just waiting. We just, the time is, we don't know how much time, but it's coming. His brothers, we just need one miracle. Dude, it's tough to watch something like that. And then he passes away on Friday, and it's just a big time bummer, dude. And now, there's the hashtag win it for Michi, and Michigan is certainly, was a big part of his life. He became a big part of theirs. You look back at the smiles and all the faces when he scored that touchdown, and you can't help but just feel for that young man, his family, and everybody who was involved with him, because it just doesn't make sense, man. Doesn't seem fair. Yeah. Like, why does that kind of stuff have to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have my only interaction with him, and I don't even really call it an interaction, just being in his presence. I was down in the field, obviously shooting from the sideline during the Maryland game when they wheeled him out and they honored him. I don't know if it was like during the third quarter, but I remember they took him out in his wheelchair and his family was with him, and he had tears. He had tears come. I mean, there's 110,000 people in the stadium. Not many people get that experience of going out onto, the Michigan, the football field with a full stadium and having that crowd sort of send you that type of energy. And I remember when they turned the chair around and he came off, he was wiping tears off his eyes, and I was trying to, get shots of it, and he looked sad, but they were tears of joy, and you could just tell how much his involvement in how much the football program embraced him, how much that meant to him. And I was telling you about this before we got on, when it comes to osteosarcoma, Allie Bauer, she's the kid that we're doing the Kicks for the Kids program. And same sort of thing, started out with pain in her knee, and it was kind of like this lingering issue. And then long story short, comes to find out that she has osteosarcoma, and now she's going through, different chemo treatments. And she's 15 years old, man. And so I think it just, it sucks. It sucks when you hear these things, and, you try to put a good spin on it. But what I will say is, I guarantee you, is sad as it is, the fact that he's no longer with us, the impact that he had on those around him, whether it be the football program or other people who are battling the same thing, that's going to carry on, indefinitely. And I think that that's the best that you can hope for when any of us go, no matter when that is, that we leave something behind that's going to carry on and make a positive impact. And I certainly think he did that. So sucks to hear, but I'm glad he was able to take part and be a part of the Michigan football program, because you could tell it meant a whole hell of a lot to him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, and I said I couldn't remember if he had a son or a daughter. He has a young son, barely 18 years old when the special was shot with Tom Rinaldi. Yes, osteosarcoma is a form of bone cancer. He was in the wheelchair because his leg was amputated, like just either just below or just above the knee, to try to, stop the spread of the tumors, which obviously it didn't. Man, you read those stories, dude, and you just, like I said, you just don't know why shit like that has to happen. It's terrible to see, but yeah, again, you try to find all the positive things that happened while he was here, while he was around the program, while the program was around him. Like I said, worked in both ways for sure. Like, lit him up. His mom said as much. He was suffering, but he wasn't. He wasn't suffering during that day. And again, if you just look at on the page, I know you're not going to be able to see it real well. This is from the All About Ann Arbor website. I don't know. It doesn't matter where it's really from, because everybody pretty much ran the same thing. But I mean, dude, the faces of everybody in the background, like as happy
pure
as
joy.
anybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, just pure joy. And so, just again, Muskegon kids. So the Muskegon community obviously rallying around that. Thoughts and prayers to his family and everybody involved there. Just a sad thing, man. No other way to slice it. No other way to slice it other than just to call it a sad situation, and hope that other people don't have to go through the same thing, because it looked rough. There's no way that it wasn't for everybody that was around that young man. So I just realized also, by not having the soundboard, we can't run the Rich commercial. We're gonna have to do all this off the dome. We usually do with the other ones anyways, I guess. Like Wolverine State Brewing Company, we'll throw that up now. The Massacre, Chris, my favorite drink there. It's dangerous, scary. You want to be careful with it. Get a couple of them in you. You're having a rough time, but a great time. And so
a rough and great time all at the same time.
Rough and great at the exact same time.
Great.
It's been a little while since we've been over there, dude, without having to go to Ann Arbor every weekend and pop in and see Nate and the gang over there. But still, if you guys listening are ever in the area, please stop by. It would mean a lot to us. It would certainly mean a lot to Nate and the people running that place, because it's you will not be disappointed no matter what you do or what you get.
Yeah, and we got one more event that we are brewing. No pun intended. That's in the hopper. No,
I really wish I had the fart noise for that. That needed to happen right there.
But planning on doing one more event there at Wolverine State Brewing Company, just to celebrate what we did with Mott Children's Hospital, and the fact that we were able to raise almost $8,000 for various causes over there. And so we're gonna get that on the schedule, plan for it. That's going to take place at Wolverine State Brewing Company as well. So not quite done with the folks over there just yet.
But yeah, we're just indebted to everything they've done. They made every weekend with the RV and the beer. I mean, the beer was flowing, dude. The beer was flowing. Food out there a handful of times, and obviously when we go in there, we're treated like VIPs, Chris. I don't know if we are, but we certainly feel like it when we're in there.
I don't think we are.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. People take pictures with us. I don't know. We hang out with each other. We should make a list of all the things that make us like not that cool. Like, I'll make a list about you. You make one about me. You can.
No, we don't want to do that.
You could put my toothpicks on there. I can put.
Please.
I don't know, the sweat beads coming out your trucker hat. I mean, we can come up with a pretty good list.
That's uncontrollable. That's uncontrollable. Toothpicks are controllable. Let's talk about controllable.
I have great oral hygiene, dude. I'm sorry. It's just something that's really important to me. Screonk coming through with a $20 banger as usual. Appreciate it, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, always appreciate that. Man, another pretty sad topic. Did you see a couple people bringing it up in the comments here? Not Michigan related necessarily, but in the college football world, dude, Mike Leach is, I mean, from the latest update, he might be on his way out, man, and that's crazy. Because he's always, I don't know his health history necessarily, but he's always been like an entertaining, enjoyable, fun guy to hear from. And I know everybody who's ever covered him has had just incredible stories about the guy. You know, he's about as quirky as they come when it comes to college football coaches. One of the few Division I coaches that never played beyond high school. Like that's one of his claims to fame. An offensive innovator, really almost kind of like invented the air raid approach, several years ago, and apparently had a very serious, like massive heart attack and is not doing well, like at all. If you look at some like the Mississippi State people who are a little more plugged in and tuned into what's going on, it looks pretty grim, man. And that's nuts, dude. I can't believe that.
Yeah. Every update that seems to come out, shows that things are trending, in opposite direction of what you like. And it sucks because, Mike Leach, for such a long time has been just this, this character in college football, almost like a Lee Corso effect, where it's a guy that you want to hear from every time he gets on camera, every time they put a microphone in front of him. You're going to get something gold, whether it's a story or a little soundbite that he gives. And at the end of the day, again, it's just, it seems like it came on sudden and seems to be progressing, like I said, in the wrong direction. And so, I hate to say the whole thoughts and prayers thing because I've never been a big fan on that phraseology. Is that a phraseology?
I'm not either, but I sometimes don't really know. I don't want to like not say.
You're not really sure what to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where I'm at. Not really sure what to say other than it sucks. I think he was great for college football, and fingers crossed that he's able to pull through and somehow, obviously, keeping his life is most important, but if there's a way he can get back on the field and back to being Mike Leach, I mean that, he was a lovable figure in college football, and you hate to potentially lose people like that. So pulling for him for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So you sent me a screenshot, which was VIP information from a message board somewhere, and I wasn't going to read it, in respect for what they do, but it's on Twitter. Like this is on Twitter. It's gotten out there. I think this is the kind of thing where like that seems a little weird to put that behind a paywall, but whatever. So I'm going to read it now because it is on Twitter. Zachary Hall is a news reporter from somewhere in Arkansas, and he put this up from a Mississippi State message board, one of the staff writers there. It says, "I wish I had better." I think this is a few hours old now, actually, or maybe not quite that long. But anyway, "I wish I had better news, but I'm told that the hospital has transitioned into comfort care measures for Coach Mike Leach. That's essentially hospice care at this point. Told that he's been largely, if not totally, unresponsive since the cardiac event yesterday morning, and it now seems to be simply a matter of time." Like, dude, that's horrible. Like that's horrible news. The comment goes on to say some of what we just said, that like he's a good football coach, but it's like he's a national treasure. Like he tweets something out, or he does something, or he does an interview, and like we talk about it, or people down in Florida or people out in California, like have nothing to do with Mississippi State football or Mike Leach in any way. Just want to hear what he has to say, want to be talking about what he's talking about, because he just kind of has that effect. So yeah, dude, that's really, really awful news. I can't remember how, I think I don't even know if he's 60. I was trying to remember how old he was. I know he's not very old. Not that really matters, but like, yeah, young guy you'd think should have a lot of life ahead of him, and it's not looking good for him right now. Wow, dude, he's born the same year as my dad. He's 14 days older than my dad, which, holy shit, that just kind of hit me in the balls right there real quick. So he's 61 years old. Yeah, not a very old guy. And just you're hoping for a big turn, in the other direction. But for everybody who's closer to it and more plugged in, doesn't seem to be going very well for him, which is just crazy to think. Like a week ago, he was tweeting about like filling up the stadium for their bowl game with the cowbells and all that stuff.
I mean, a month ago, he was talking about, eating sandwiches under trees with fat girlfriends or something like that. You know what I mean? Just hilarious. The things that he's just, again, a national treasure. Was always, I was watching, people have been putting highlights. He talked about I don't know who the guy was interviewing him, but he was talking about drinking coffee and, how do you take your coffee? And he's like, it's black. I keep it as is. Basically what he was saying is it tastes like shit. I'm not trying to add anything to it. Get it down as soon as I can. It's about the effects, not the taste. And I mean, that's, I don't know. It's that type of stuff that you, I don't know. You guys, you start to take for granted from guys like that until you don't hear things like that. It's like, damn, that sucks.
Interesting cat. Everybody out there pulling for him. I mean, like, there's nobody not pulling for him to pull through and recover from what was a pretty surprising development, obviously. Shifting and hopefully shifting gears to this for the last time now, Chris, but the Mazi Smith stuff does seem to be a thing of the past.
Yep.
He pled guilty and plead down to a misdemeanor weapons possession. I take that back now as I'm going through the update. He will be sentenced in a little over 2 weeks on December 29th, which is just 2 days before Michigan plays TCU. So that'll be interesting to see what exactly comes of that, what happens, if he'll be available for that game or not. But kind of what everybody thought. I mean, he made a mistake, no doubt about it, but it wasn't egregious or nefarious or dangerous or like he was in, putting anybody's life in danger, but he messed up like pretty bad. You can't be doing stuff like that with a loaded gun out there when you're not supposed to be.
Well, not loaded.
Sorry, not loaded gun. A gun and lots of ammunition.
Yeah.
But now it's, now he pled guilty to what he was doing after it was dropped down a little bit, and then we'll see what happens at sentencing. I don't really know, and I'm kind of done guessing as to what's going to happen with this. I'm sure there's people out there more educated than I am about what the kind of sentence that would come from this. But there you have it. That's what's going on with Mazi Smith at this point. 17 days before sentencing on the 29th.
Well, and I think it just goes to show that, especially when you're on the media side of things, you never want to be the last person to report on something because you understand how important it is that, if people go to you as a news source, you don't want to be the last person to report on something. But given the way that this story has been reported on, the different versions that came out, how things have been piecemealed, and in a lot of ways, the way that Mazi Smith, the type of person he was painted out to be, what he was doing, who he is, I just think it really shows that in some instances, being first to the table, there is no value in that.
Right.
There is much more value in sitting back and trying to get the facts and trying to figure out exactly what happened, because if not, you end up painting this kid as if he's a danger to the community. And there were a lot of people who did that, not just dweebs online, but I'm talking about notable people in the media who decided to create this narrative about Mazi Smith that quite frankly just isn't true. And so, we all want to be first to the table. We all want to be the people that are breaking out the story, but it turns out what happened isn't nearly as interesting or nefarious as a lot of people out there had hoped it would be. And I think that's all the more reason why people need to take a deep breath in instances like this. Again, when people want to compare it to what happened with Michigan State, there's a difference when you have videotape of an altercation. We can all see what happened. You don't really have to wait for more information to come out. We saw it. We saw the actions take place. With Mazi Smith, that wasn't the case. Information was slow coming. People took a narrative. They ran with it because they wanted to paint him in a certain light. And I just think it's bullshit. And I think that, to the folks that did that, I don't know, man. What goes around comes around for sure. There's no doubt. Shout out to 97 won the ticket, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wasn't gonna bring up Rico again. I saw Jay right there. Keltner put his name out there. I didn't see this or hear this before. Wasn't listening on this day, I guess. But Chris, not only was there connections made between Mazi and the assaults in the tunnel because there was video and all that, and we said something about how Rico was like, well, maybe getting pulled over kept you from doing something even worse. There was another section of their discussion of that where he was like, now look what happened to Keith Appling. Maybe Mazi Smith was going. Keith Appling killed a motherfucker and is in jail for life, dude. What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop being little brother. That's not even little brother. That's like just hoping for the worst because you are a miserable person because of who you've chosen to associate yourself with. That's what that is. Wow. I don't know any other way to put it. Like, that's insane. That's insane. And like you said,
and that's why that show is a clown show, because anytime anything comes up like this, and like you said, like I used to like listening to Mike Valeni, and for most of the topics, I generally would agree with, the tenor of it and the direction of it. But when it comes to some of this stuff with Michigan and Michigan State, it just goes off the rails, and it's sad. And the fact that there's nobody in that room to check either one of those guys,
I know.
That's how things like that spiral out of control. So I just think that it has become a pretty toxic show. And then to go and say some of the things they said, make some insinuations, say you're not going to play certain games when you are playing certain games with your words. I just, it is what it is. And anybody who heard it knows what they said. And again, what goes around comes around. And I hope Rico and Mike keep their noses clean, because the second anything pops up, I'm going to be right to my keyboard.
Well,
making an article of it.
Anyway, yeah. So, and I just feel like we should talk about Michigan State a little bit. Like what's going on with them right now?
What's going on over there in East?
Michigan's out there getting ready for the college football playoff. They're 13-0. They're ready for big things. Some big things happening in East Lansing as well. People are fleeing the country. They can't get away from that place fast enough. The commitments are dropping like flies. Their class is down to 10. Some of their best young prospects are hitting the transfer portal like it's a free cruise around the world. They can't wait to get out of East Lansing. And, you kind of wonder why. You wonder why a little bit. You don't wonder why. You know exactly why, because they got hoodwinked, bamboozled, whatever those words are that Stephen A. Smith used in that rant. Mel Tucker's not the guy. I'm going to say it right now, right here, December 12th. He is not the guy. He had a phenomenal – I don't even know how he did it, the 2021 season. Well, Kenneth Walker. Yeah, that's a big part of it, obviously. But he made out like a bandit, dude, and he is not it. And they are going to blow next year, too. Maybe worse than they did this year. And I'm here for it. I
absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Because you know what I haven't heard in a really long time? I haven't heard anybody talk about Tuck coming from, that was all you heard from East Lansing for months nonstop. And months, showing up to Michigan camps, with their shirts, taking pictures with Michigan players and Tuck coming shirts and all this bullshit. And I think maybe, the harsh reality of what's really happening is starting to set in as, everything looks good over the summer when you're posing with rental cars and you're doing photo shoots and you got guys in their full uniform walking out of water and talking about deep water and chop life and taking pictures with dogs and doing all the other shit they were doing. But at the end of the day, 3 wins in conference play, losing commitments, losing people who are on your roster.
Yeah.
I mean, having guys facing charges, more charges than wins. It's just, it's been a rough year in East Lansing. And I think you're right. I'll go on record as well, agreeing with you. Mel Tucker is not that dude. I don't think it's going to go well. I don't think it's going to go well.
He's never going to win anything of substance there. That win over Michigan, the 2 wins over Michigan is all he's ever going to have.
During the COVID year. Let's just throw that out there.
I'll put that on everything. And I don't know if he's ever going to beat him again. It's not going to happen anytime soon. It's going to take a big change of whatever's going on for that to happen again. Inexplicable, unacceptable that it happened twice, frankly. But
by the way, tonight, after losing someone to the transfer portal and after the decommit, he tweets, he just says boom, and the video is of him, not of his team, of him putting, making a putt. Is there anybody in the world that loves Mel Tucker as much as Mel Tucker? I mean, this dude he's incredible. Just living it up. Out there.
I wanted to see. I saw somebody talking about it, but I didn't see the actual tweet. Boom, 4 hours ago. Was that it?
Maybe. Boom. Here's me making a putt and losing 2 players.
How about this picture right here? Somebody tweeted, "Let Mel Tucker." You know the whole let Russ cook.
Yeah.
Let Mel Tucker cook. It says. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. All right. Well, that's about all I have on Michigan State. Well, I mean, here are the specifics though. A offensive lineman from Detroit decommitted earlier today. It was said to be mutual, which whatever, you take that how you want. It may have been. Apparently the kid hasn't been exactly on the up and up in terms of development. He plays for Detroit King, but he didn't play like the last part of the season. He was originally listed at 280. He's apparently like 250 now. So like, they're okay. If it was mutual, cool. Let me ask you, what would be the Michigan State perception and reception if Jim Harbaugh had cut a kid loose on December 12th when signing day is in 9 days?
You know what it would be.
Okay.
You know what it would be.
We'll just put that out there. But anyway, the kid, Jonathan Slack is his name, offensive lineman from King. He decommitted. So with him decommitting, the class is down to just 10 commitments, 10 days ahead of the early signing period. Now, 9 of those guys are 4-stars, which would be the most they've ever brought in. They do still have some talented kids in that class, but dude, they need roster help in the biggest way. And having 10 kids in their class right now is not good at all. Like there's no other way to.
I think there's only three programs in the Big Ten with less right now. Indiana,
correct.
Rutgers, and I can't remember who is it. Illinois, maybe.
That sounds right. Yeah. So at one point when they were talking, right back to what you said, Chris, bumping the gums, the Mel Tuck Cummins shirts, the this, that, they were in the top 10 in recruiting. Thought Tucker was just booming out on the recruiting trail. Like this is what he's.
And can I say, I thought they were too. I remember talking about this in the season leading up. I'm like, holy shit.
They were doing some things.
And this is why, Michigan's, they got to step it up. NIL, look what Mel Tucker's doing. Look what they're doing out there in East Lansing. And it turns out it was all smoke and mirrors bullshit. There was no substance behind it. And I guess that's maybe, the irony in the whole dog, thing that they've taken on, because the bark was definitely louder than the bite from the Spartans this year, man. 3 conference wins. 3 wins in the conference.
Yeah.
3 and 6.
During that summer stretch, their recruiting class was in the top 10 in the country. It's barely in the top 10 in the Big Ten right now. They're 9th in the Big Ten, 47th overall. Tuck not coming. Not coming.
Yeah, I did take a picture with him. I'll admit it. I took a picture with him. What do you want me to do?
He's a dapper guy. He had a nice suit on.
He was a dapper guy. We were in the same tailgate.
There it is. It's all good.
Area. I was in enemy territory.
Yeah, like if you invited him to your Christmas party, he's not coming. If you wanted him to come out on a fishing trip with you, he's not coming.
Not coming.
I'm gonna keep the show PG. I'm not gonna go the other direction of what else other examples I might be able to say. But he ain't coming, dude. He's not.
If you're a lot lizard out there,
if I would, let's say I was flying.
Of the night.
Let's say I was flying, and for some reason I had to land in East Lansing, and I needed a ride, and I called him. He ain't coming.
If he was your Uber driver, not coming.
He's not coming. If he was supposed to give the keynote speech at your church on Sunday, he ain't coming.
No,
he ain't coming. He ain't coming. That's all I got. All right, I was just trying to come up with different examples of things that he would not be coming to.
Pretty much anything.
Those are the ones I could think of. All right, let's get into a little bit more relevant stuff moving forward now at this point. Chris, you put up an article. Was it today or was it last night?
Today. Are you talking about TCU?
TCU, yes. The Horned Frogs are on the clock, and you put up an article about them today. It was the picture was cool, by the way. You got JJ, you've got Duggan, both quarterbacks very well respected by everybody around the country for their toughness and the way that they play and kind of team first, but also they'll lay it on the line. I mean, like Michigan fans know that JJ will. Max Duggan, dude, that Big 12 championship, he could barely walk, breathe, like he's dying. Now, they ended up losing the game, which that sucks.
He did, but it wasn't because of him. That was poor coaching down the stretch to take the ball out of his hands and choose to, go another direction when that dude was just unstoppable.
Before we get into the football, Chris, discuss with your boy Cody Engel right here. TCU does have some fire uniforms. Chris is on board.
Now, Cody, sometimes I feel like you say some controversial things here, some things I don't necessarily agree with. I am with you 100% on TCU. I was actually talking to Brandon about this. I saw the horns around the collar. Brandon wasn't feeling that, or the spikes around. I love the purple and black. I love the different, the alternate versions of the helmet. I love everything about TCU's uniforms. I will give them credit for that.
I like a lot about them.
I like the mascot too, the horned frog.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty dope. I like it. I like TCU.
It's obscure. It's unique. They do it well. I like purple's my favorite color. I don't have a lot of purple stuff, but like the color itself.
Purple rain. Purple rain.
Purple black combo I like that. The helmets, they change them up quite a bit. They've got the chrome sometimes. They've got the matte. They've got I like that. One of the things you said you liked the most was what kind of I didn't like as much. It was what you said,
love it.
Those horns or spikes or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just too much going on. They were like overlapping the Big 12 logo and like
similar to what Georgia does with the dog collar.
Yeah, too much.
They pull that one out every now and then. I love it.
But I like if I was ranking uniforms, they would certainly be in like my top third.
You know what it is? You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like, I don't know, mid 90s NBA uniforms, maybe late 90s, early 2000s.
The big Raptor.
Raptor, the gaudy, the Houston Rockets used to have the giant rocket on. I mean, the
Grizzlies.
Yeah. Those uniforms. I dig that. To me, it's a throwback to like that type of style. I love it.
Fair enough. Like I said, I like the color combo. I think a little busy at times, but they've also done some like all white alternates in the past that I do. All white does it for me. And
real clean. I will give them credit there.
Okay, so beyond the uniforms, though, like this is Michigan's favored by, I don't know what the line's at now, but it was at like 8.5, maybe 9.5, whatever it is. Like that's not nothing. But they're going to be a tough out because of Duggan, mostly. Like, I mean, I don't know a lot about the rest of their roster just yet. We'll do some deep diving into that as the weeks move on and we get a little closer to the game. Obviously, we watched them in that Big 12 championship. That was really my first time watching them in depth at any point this year. As we've talked about so many times, covering Michigan, you don't get to see that much of other teams unless you actively like seek it out. But anyway, Chris, in the article that you put up, what were some of the key points that kind of stuck out to you or things that make you say, you know what? I'm interested in this game. Duggan, the speed that they might have. Defense, a little shaky maybe, or maybe not. We'll see.
Well, so to me, it was what really stuck out was the defense for TCU. And I think that's what's going to be the thing that prevents them from keeping it a game. Offensively, they're good offensively. They got the number 6 scoring offense in the nation. Michigan is at number 7. They've got the number 25 ranked passing offense in the nation. Michigan ranked 94th in the nation in passing offense, by the way. Not that surprising given the way that Michigan runs their offense. But, Michigan is better in the rushing department. Michigan's better on third down conversion and fourth down conversion. Michigan also better in the red zone. TCU is number 80 in the country in red zone conversion. Michigan, number 5. They score points when they're in the red zone. Now, it's not always touchdowns, but they score points. So defensively, I thought that was where the biggest contrast was between these two teams. Total defense, TCU comes in at number 74. Michigan's ranked number 3. Scoring defense, number 57 for TCU. Michigan, number 5. So you're talking about a defense that gives up a lot of points. They give up a lot of yards, and Michigan just doesn't do that. And so when you get right down to it, and somebody asked me this, they said, what do you think is going to be, the biggest contributing factor to what the outcome ultimately is? And to me, it's the physicality that Michigan's going to bring. I don't think even if they're preparing for it, you're preparing for it against your other guys right now or anybody else in the Big 12, you ain't seen nothing like what you're going to face with Michigan on both sides of the ball. So even if it's close early, I just think the physicality from the Wolverines is going to wear on TCU. And then by the time you get into the second half, they're just not going to want it. They're not going to want that fight.
I mean, unless TCU can go to the practice squads of some NFL teams and find a center and a 2-guard combination like Trevor Keegan, Oluwatimi, and Zach Zinner, they're not recreating anything that Michigan's going to do in the run game, in the trenches, physicality-wise. You could flip it over to the other side of the D-line, too. They've just been so good in the trenches, dude, and that's where you win. That's why Michigan's 13-0, and I'm with you, dude. I mean, the Big 12, it's not quite what it once was when you had teams that they played zero defense, but it's still not. It's not like the physical brand of football that Michigan plays specifically. There's really, I wouldn't even say like any conference top to bottom is like, oh, they're just killing. Like, I don't even really, you can't really say that about the Big Ten anymore. That's an antiquated thought. You've got too many teams doing the spread stuff and airing it out and doing all the different zone read and everything. But Michigan is back to the old school ways. And as much as we tried to fight it for half of the year or more, Chris, it freaking works, and it works well every single week. And yeah, Sean, that's a great point. They also have a ton of team speed. Like, they're big, they're powerful, they're physical.
That's what it is.
It's a combo.
Michigan is big and clunky.
Right.
I mean, they're physical, they're bullies, but you have a guy like Donovan Edwards who is a home run threat every time he gets his hands on the ball. You have a guy like Will Johnson on the other side who's an emerging freshman lockdown corner. I mean, so Michigan is not all just bruise and bully. They've got some finesse. They've got some speed too. I just think that they're the more complete team. The only way that TCU keeps this close or even squeaks out a win, I think Max Duggan's going to have the game of his life. And I think he might have had that against Kansas State. I mean, dude, you could see they were picking him up off the field. Like he almost looked like a dead body out there. Like he had given it everything he had, and it just wasn't enough to get it done. And I think, once he gets a couple hits from those, whether it's Yabioki, whether it's Mike Morris, whether it's Mozzie Smith coming up the middle, whether it's, Jalen Harrell coming, whoever it is, it's going to be tough sledding. And if Michigan can keep him contained, because he can run the ball, he's proven that. He's kind of got a little bit of that Sean Clifford in him where he can drop back, and if you don't pay attention to him, he can rip one off for 30 or 40 yards and change the field a little bit. So if they can contain him, if they can keep him locked down, TCU is going to struggle mightily.
You were mentioning where his teammates were picking him up off the ground. He could barely walk. He's struggling to breathe. I was going to say he's a ginger, so it's amplified, but he looked like a raw sausage. And that he was like the tone of his skin was like red, speckled.
Your anti-red hair
rhetoric.
Rhetoric on here is just off the charts these last couple of shows. Apologies to any redheads out there.
What was my last? Was it him also last time?
It was him. I think you said he had no soul.
Well, that's not my thought. Like, gingers have no soul is like a widely accepted,
scientific fact.
Yeah. It's not. That's not my own original thought. I'm just championing what most people already believe.
Bottom line is TCU, decent offense, not a great defense, and certainly not built for 4 quarters against the Michigan Wolverines. And here's what's crazy about that. If that's how it goes, I mean, book your tickets to the Natty. The Michigan Wolverines are going to LA to play for a national championship. And oh, by the way, it's a rematch either way. They either get to play Georgia again, rematch of last year's semifinal, or they get the Buckeyes in the Natty.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
The way this is playing out is seriously like some of the scenarios you would see on NCAA football 14 when you were going through and running your dynasty. Like, this is real life. It's really happening.
So, a couple of things to bring up.
You shut your damn mouth against the Gingers. That's right, Willie B.
Can you get canceled for talking about Gingers? I mean, no one cares.
Well,
and then I was going to say that, and then here comes Willie B. This is one of those things, right? Like, if you've got them in your family or you've got like blood, like, you can talk about them, right?
So here you go. So it's so because you're related, because you have a friend who is one, you can say whatever you want.
Don't go there, Chris.
Is that the road you really want to take now?
That's the road I'm taking when it comes to gingers, because there's no movements out there for them. I don't believe. Right? Is there?
I guarantee you there's a ginger movement somewhere. I don't even feel comfortable saying ginger.
Oh, that's
I respect
fantastic.
all redheads.
That's fantastic. I mean, dude, don't say that. Who said that?
Unless they give me a specific reason not to. I'm not.
No, not you. I'm talking about one of the comments that just got, I'm not going to repeat it. It's real funny, Sean, but I don't want to be canceled. Like, I have the outlook that a lot of see Jay, same thing. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to say it. I have the stance that a lot of comedians have. Like, I think shit's funny. I don't get offended very easily. I will respect other people. I'm not trying to cross any lines.
Oh shit, we got a mutiny on our hands here. Willie B is recruiting all redheads in the comment section here. Listen,
redheads unite. Redheads unite in the shade. Sorry, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I burn easily too. Like we can get on board on that same front right there.
Oh my god! Did not expect to spend this much time on redheads tonight.
That's probably gonna. Let me see. 55-19 drop there. 55-19. Did not expect to spend this much time on redheads. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't really part of the plan, but when it comes up, it comes up, and you don't want to leave anybody out. You don't want to make anybody feel unwanted or unwelcome, which I probably already did. But again, I have it in my
love for the redheads.
I have it in my family. I love them. I'm a little scared of them, but I love him. I just don't. He's just. You look at him sometimes, and I'm like,
"What's no soul thing?" Kind of freaks.
Yeah, what's he?
Lifeless behind the eyes.
What's he doing over there? He's 2.5. He might kill me in my sleep, dude. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they think about it. It's very different. It's very different. All right, I'm obviously kidding. Well, mostly kidding. Nick, thank you for the donation. Don't forget that Jesse Minter is having almost a month. Yes, to dial up various looks. Nothing TCU has seen. Mike Morris should be healthier. I still wonder if he'll be 100%. He just hasn't looked very good, but we'll see. That's a lot of time off from the Big Ten championship game to now, the Ohio State game till now. Yep. And obviously he played in both of those, so we'll see what that looks like. Well, look, there you go. AJ Cooper married a ginger. No soul anywhere.
Well, see, and he paid for that comment, so okay, that's allowed. I mean, if you're married to one, I kind of got to take your word for it.
I don't think they smell like ginger, or I'm sorry, garlic. I'm gonna have to refute that one. They take more anesthetic to knock out. I've also heard that that's actually true. Like legitimately, like they don't respond to modern medicine the same way that regular humans do. It's wild, dude.
What are we doing here?
We're wrapping up the show at an hour. That's what we're doing.
No burning? No burnings?
Well, what I was thinking was because we don't have as much to talk about. Why the hell
did I sit down there and try to come up with burnings if we weren't doing burnings?
We got Wednesday.
Maybe
Friday.
We condensed it down to 3. I don't think we have Friday anymore. We're canceling. That's the other thing we got to talk about. We're only doing Monday, Wednesday till we get back to game week.
Yeah, for now. Brett Hagedorn, thank you, sir. Being able to do this all the way to January 2 years in a row has been awesome. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. Chris and I talk about it often, covering this team versus the alternative and whatever else might be. Yeah, dude, unreal 2-year run here for not only Michigan, obviously, but dude, your boys. We've been just so blessed, so lucky, so fortunate to be covering the team right now and doing this. It's been incredible. Will Johnson on Quentin Johnson should be fun to watch. Yeah, see, that's the receiver that I just don't know that much about. Is he number 3?
He is their their leading receiver.
Yeah.
Let me go back in. I already exited out of the article, but yeah, he is their top receiver. So yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup.
So there you go. Will JJ break the passing record?
That's part of my burning questions.
All right.
We got to get into some of these. We got to get into some of these because he's closer now that they're in the playoffs than maybe we thought he might be.
Adam Shepardson, are you a ginger? The beard looks a little gingery, and this comment's hilarious. This is where we're ending the ginger discussion. Ginger allergy list as long as the Dead Sea Scrolls. I love it. As a fellow allergy sufferer, my son is also. I can also talk about that. So there you go. I'm allowed. I'm grandfathered in. AC Wilhelm, thank you for the donation. Yeah, Blake, depending on what he decides to do, Donovan Edwards next year could be an incredible backfield for Michigan in 2023. Yeah, we'll see that as we go. All right, so we're going to do a couple burning questions, Chris. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we'll just condense it down a little bit. Maybe we'll go 3 apiece.
Let me see. Do I have 2 that I can trash? Well, okay, here's one of my questions was just open forum. Let's discuss Max Duggan. We pretty much just did that. I can take that one out.
One of my questions, my first question was it a bad look for McNamara on that podcast, or are people making too much of it?
We've covered that.
I think we've covered that, so we can take that out. But the rest of them I feel like are valid. So if you I've got what I feel are 4. Wait, Yeah, four valid questions.
I've got 4 pretty good ones too. I could scrap one more if you want to get to 3. Do we just want to do 4 and call it good?
I can get to 3 as well.
All right, let's go to 3. Well. I had a question about NIL. We've definitely beat that drum before. It was spurred on by the Cade McNamara podcast, which we kind of talked about a little bit. So okay, all right, I'm down to 3, and I think they're 3 good ones. We ready?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll start us off, Chris. We talked about it just now. The physicality, the approach, Michigan, what they want to do on offense. No Blake Corum, but Donovan Edwards. Kalel Mullings showed that he can tote the rock a little bit. I would expect to see CJ Stokes a little bit more. It's puzzling that we didn't. I don't know if he played a snap against Purdue. I think he was on the bench the entire game. I might want to look back at that real quick. But question is, Chris, what would be a successful day on the ground against TCU? I don't know if you've got a yardage mark. Do you have a certain number of touchdowns? Do you have a yards per carry? Like, what would look like a great day running the ball in Arizona for Michigan against the Horned Frogs?
I mean, I think you get another, 200 plus yards on the ground, 250. I think you get 150 or so out of Donovan Edwards. To me, he has to break loose. I know he can run between the tackles. I know he can pick up yards that way, but those home run threats from Donovan Edwards have been big difference makers. If you look at, the Purdue game, or if you look at what happened in Columbus against Ohio State, I think Michigan now that Donovan Edwards is up and running, if he can break free and crack off a 40 and a 50-yard touchdown run, I think those are the types of things that really demoralize a defense when you figure out, like, shit, not only are we getting beat up in the trenches, but then you got number 7 just zooming by. We can't catch him once he gets in the open field. It's a problem. It puts everybody on their heels. And so to me, that's a successful day, is if Donovan Edwards is able to break off a couple of those big runs and they're both for 6. I just think everything in between is going to be gravy.
Yeah.
Did that answer the question?
It did. Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I don't know if the numbers really truly matter. I think maybe not the total numbers. I do think those yards per carry. I mean, if Michigan's up in that 5, 6, 7, even 8 yards per carry,
he's averaging 7.5 yards per carry, leads the nation.
That's what I'm saying. If they're up in those numbers, I don't know if the total really matters or how many times they get in the end zone. I mean, obviously you want them to score touchdowns, but if Donovan breaks one off and runs down to the 7 and then JJ throws it to a tight end, does it really matter that it wasn't a rushing touchdown? Sure. But I'm with you. I think a couple big plays, lean on the defense, demoralize them, let them know early, damn, we haven't seen anything like this, and we are not stopping this. If Michigan can do that within the first quarter, which I think they might be able to, it's going to be a long day for TCU, and I think that running game is going to be better and better. In talking to some people who know some people within the program, they actually think that TCU people who know some people, meaning I don't know them, but I know someone who does.
Know some people who know some people.
I know a few. They people in the building, they don't think that TCU's got an answer. They don't. They don't think that they're going to be able to withstand anything that Michigan throws at them on the ground. They really think, what we see kind of in the third and fourth quarter might start to show up even in the first freaking quarter. It's just going to work, and TCU is going to it's going to really take the wind out of what they're doing, the wind out of their sails. And we'll see what that ends up looking like, man. I think it could be pretty special. And back to the point I was making, CJ Stokes did not play a single snap against Purdue in the Big Ten title game. And Tavi Dunlap only played 1. Kalel Mullings played 9. Donovan Edwards played 46. So
they're loving Kalel Mullings down there near the goal line. There's no doubt about it.
So we'll see what that ends up
looking like. Did you say it had a St. Bernard on him?
That is what I said. I mean, he's all of probably 240 and just dude, he looks like he could put his head through your car door. I'm telling you, dude. When I was down on the field, excuse me, I was down on the field for that Ohio State game, and I'm not a small guy, but I looked at him he'd kill me if he ran into me. I would literally cease to breathe. I'd stop breathing. He just he's just that big and that put together in his uniform.
There's a lot of guys on that roster. I think we could say that.
Well, that's true. And there's backs that are bigger than him. He's not the biggest back in the country by any means. But I just
got that build.
Yeah, just seeing him down there and how he was put together and going through, and also standing next to the other backs. I mean, like Donovan Edwards, also not a small guy, but like Mullings made him look like a small back. And you just wonder, like, dude, how do you tackle that guy if he's coming full steam at you, like from the 3-yard line? And it turns out you don't.
You don't do it willingly
because he scored twice against Purdue. So there you go.
All right, here we go, Brandon. Obviously, we're big fans of J.J. McCarthy. He is the only quarterback in the college football playoff who was not in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And so here's my question to you. Where does J.J. McCarthy rank among the 4 quarterbacks remaining in the college football playoff? So you've got Max Duggan, you've got Stetson Bennett, you've got C.J. Stroud, and you've got J.J. McCarthy. Rank them 1 to 4.
Okay. Am I ranking them on talent or like who I would want running my team?
Who you would want running your program.
You know what?
Starting quarterback for your program.
I would go 4, Coleridge. Soft. Whiner. Needs perfect everything to be good. And when he's good, he's real good. But I think he needs more than the other 3. Number 3. This one's close. I would go Stequavius Bennett.
Wow. Okay.
But only if he has a fresh fade. If he's got whatever he's got right now, I don't want him.
Too old? Is he too old for you? Is that what it is?
I really wonder what he would look like on another team that's not Georgia.
Sure,
it's like the Matt Leinart back in the day on USC. It's like now granted, like all these teams have pretty damn good players, and like you find a system that really works for your guy. And dude, he's thrown some dimes and he runs the ball well and he's a gamer. But I do wonder if you take him off of a 5-star studded roster, if it looks the same. I really like him. I think he's got an NFL future. I like all 4 of these guys, honestly, in different ways. But you asked me, and that's what I would say, Stequavius.
No. What are you going to do here, Brandon?
Number 2.
What are you going to do?
I would I would take Max Duggan number 1.
Are you serious? After all that ginger slander, here you are taking him number 1?
I saw what he did. Is
it because of the lack of soul that he can play better? Because he has no regard for those around him?
He'll kill everyone in his way. No, look. I think there's a lot of similarities between him and JJ. He's bigger than JJ. That's one thing. I feel like like some of the stuff that he did in that game, I don't know if JJ would have been able to do. Point blank, period. He's not as big. He's not as durable. He's not as rugged. I think JJ's got more arm talent. I think he's got more ability to throw the ball on the move. But in college, depending on the system and depending on what you're asking them to do, I think that's what I would put, man. I'm going to keep it real to myself, dude. I am. I always do.
Hating on the redheaded community, and then look at that. See, like Willie B says, boom, you go ahead and take a redhead at number 1.
I don't want to eat dinner with him. He can quarterback my team, though.
I don't want him babysitting my kids, for Christ's sake.
Right. No, stay away from my house and my family and pets and, perishable goods. Stay away. Running a football team, go ahead. Do your thing.
All right. This is going to be the biggest homer list ever.
I mean, Stroud, I know what you're going to say.
Stroud, Bennett, Duggan, and then you give me one, Mr. J.J. McCarthy, number 1. I'll take that kid any day of the week, especially on Saturdays.
I would too. I really liked what I saw out of Duggan in that game. The sausage skin, the red hair, the blood, a lot of red skin, red hair, red fluid flowing out of his body. I just he's a warrior, dude. I don't know. And he's, like I said, I don't know.
Next question. Next question.
All right. Getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here. Way ahead, because Michigan's got 1, potentially 2 massive games ahead of them. But Chris Spryler.
Yes.
Where do you rank Michigan preseason 2023? Where are they ranked, dude? Are they number 1? Georgia will not have Stequavius. They're going to lose a ton of guys to the draft.
Ohio State will not have CJ
Ohio State will not have Stroud.
Like it matters anyway.
It doesn't matter, But is Michigan the preseason number 1 team in the country?
It will be an SEC team. And then Michigan will be right there at number 2.
Okay.
No matter what happens, even if Michigan goes out and wins the Natty, Michigan will be at number 2 regardless heading into next season.
I think you could make a pretty strong case for Michigan to be 1. JJ will be back. All the offensive weapons will be back. Looks like they're going to do well in the portal. They've already done well in the portal.
I'm with CJ. I think it's going to be Bama. Everybody's going to look
I know.
Like Bama, right? Bama's number 1. Yeah. Okay.
USC might have a little bit to say with Caleb Williams coming back, the Heisman winner. They're going to have talent. They'll probably hit the transfer portal. I think you can make a case for Michigan to be number 1, and that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to discuss. It's going to be fun to see. I think you could lock them in as a top 3 team. Probably top 3. 5, I think, is guaranteed. That's a guarantee.
Right. Absolutely.
3, I think, is damn near a lock. And I think there's a discussion for number 1. And obviously, depending on what happens over the next month, it might be a bigger lock. You know, if the Michigan wins the title, dude, like, you're going to have to think about them being number 1.
Listen, don't confuse what I'm saying. I don't think it should be Bama. Well, I just think it will be Bama. I think that's like the default. I think even the playoff committee was trying to find every single reason to get Bama in the college football playoff just because they're Bama. Maybe some of that mystique is wearing off a little bit here, but, you know, we'll see what happens next season. Kind of in line with what you just asked me. We're talking about, you know, this season, and obviously if Michigan has success and you know, potentially wins a national championship. I'm curious if Michigan does go out and win a national championship this year, will it or should this season be considered the greatest single season in Michigan football history?
Yes. I don't think it's close. I mean, the undefeated, beating Ohio State's ass like you did, back-to-back Big Ten titles, all the changes, you know, that Jim Harbaugh had to navigate, new quarterback, new coordinator on both sides of the ball. I mean, dude, take all the win on the road against Ohio State might be enough by itself if they continue to win out and win the whole thing. I mean, like that not only to do it, but to do it like they did. I don't know how you could argue any other season. I really don't.
So I agree with you, which is why I asked the question, but I'm just going to, again, reiterate, how crazy is it that we are literally on the doorstep of considering where we were in 2020 and how we felt about this program, that we are now on the doorstep of witnessing the single greatest season in Michigan football history. I mean, what for anybody who was a fan, you know, especially from that, you know, the 2000 year, you know, all the way to 2020 and had to endure those 2 decades to be where we're at now. Like, fans have earned this, man. This is so cool to be a part of this and to be able to witness this. And I hope it plays out the way we all hope. But yeah, man, I think you're certainly right that if they go out and they win a national championship this year, it's far and away the greatest season of Michigan football history. And I think we're all blessed and fortunate to be able to see it.
Well, I think the only other season you could even put up there is 97. And
97,
so you just, you would just go back because any season you didn't win a national title is out. So there's a lot of them. Yeah, it's out. And then you get back in, you know,
you had the Heisman, you know,
right. It was you go down the list, you know, but they had a loss. They weren't undefeated that year. Or were they undefeated that year?
They were undefeated.
They were undefeated that year.
Yeah.
So I'd still think I'd probably take this one. I mean, the playoff would certainly, you know, you settle it a little better. Yeah, and then that's what I'm saying.
What about that 1904 season?
Yeah, you get some of the other title winning seasons. It's like 1902.
Listen, this one was good, but 1904.
1904, though. Yeah. So no.
Well, there you go. See, hey, Joe brings up a good point. They were not the outright national champions in 1997. So at this point, there would be no debate, no doubt about it. Michigan is the national champion.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, I think 100%.
More games. So, yeah, all those things. Like I said, if you made a list, you could have some pretty good things on there from 97. You could have a lot of good things on there from this year. I think you'd have more from this year. I do. That's a really interesting discussion, though, from Cody. Cody with a couple nice ones tonight. Putting them on the field together, dude. Can you imagine that? The 97 team versus this year's team?
Yeah, but don't the bigger shoulder pads count for something? That'd be tough to deal with. Those big old, I mean, it's pretty much like wearing cement up on your shoulders. It's a weapon up there.
But This is like that meme, Jim Harbaugh. Does a Heisman winner at cornerback even matter when we don't throw the ball? Oh, he's playing chess, dude.
And we got Will Johnson.
He's playing reverse chess. He's Jim Harbaugh's constructing a team that would beat the 97 team one-on-one. That's what this has been about.
He's not playing chess. He's working the Rubik's Cube over there in the back room.
No, that was pretty funny to think about. What Woodson, he'd play offense. He'd play some, I don't know who would be able to. Yeah, will be deuce on deuce. Will Johnson checking Charles Woodson.
Love it.
Charles Woodson running deep with, I don't know, not Ronnie Bell. Running deep with Cornelius Johnson all day just to never be targeted ever.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Obviously different brands of football too. Like the 97 team would see a zone read and just like shit and fall on the ground and not even know what it is. And but what 97 was good at and would want to do, like Michigan's pretty good at that right now. Like it's a lot of the same. It's an interesting
Greasy versus JJ matchup. I like everything about it. Everything about it. It's too bad we'll never be able to see it.
I know. Yeah, that's fun to talk about that stuff. Different eras match. You see it in the NBA all the time. Like, oh, these players today would never be able to play back then. And I'm like, I don't know,
that's
man.
Just what we'll do. We'll just let computers. We'll put all the talent in once the game comes out, and we'll put the two rosters up. And we'll see what the computers decide.
There you go. Well, Chris. Oh, I have one more. I do have one. I
have one more as well.
You have you have 4? I thought we had 3.
This is my 3rd.
Oh.
I've only asked you 2. Jesus Christ. Too much redhead slander over there.
My final question is, Chris, I did the look ahead for the ranking. Not that it matters that much, but it will be fun to discuss as next year approaches. We did this up and down until we were blue in the face for like 8 weeks. We don't know what the staff's going to look like. We assume that maybe there will be a departure or 2. We also assume there could be some departures via the transfer portal and maybe some other guys coming in from the transfer portal. You never know what the freshmen are going to do class to class. But it's a big question, Chris, and I don't know if you have one thing or 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever. When the season gets ready to start in 2023, if you were Jim Harbaugh, if you were the head coach at Michigan, what would you change? What would you do differently in 2023 versus what we're seeing this year and how it's played out and everything? Is there anything?
Yeah, I would still spend the non-conference schedule working out the kinks in the passing game more.
Okay.
Because whether or not you get Blake Corum back or not, we know that's up in the air. You're going to have Donovan Edwards back, and we know for a fact that Donovan Edwards can just show up after missing a handful of weeks and be absolutely the most dominant player on the football field. And so to me, I think you work on that passing game a little bit, because even though Michigan is obviously, they're 13-0, they're in the college football playoff, I think that there was a part of this offense, a component of this offense that could have been more complementary to the run game and serve them better. And it's hard to say that when they're undefeated. So yeah, I would do a little bit differently. I would spend more time working on the passing game to get those kinks worked out, so that when you get into conference play, you are now perfectly balanced, and you're not asking a guy like Andrel Anthony to do something he hasn't been asked to do for the first 5, 6, 7 weeks. These guys are already up to speed. Everybody's got their mojo. You are a complete team. And then any defense you face from there on out, they've got to account for that. They know that, hey, yes, Michigan's hard-nosed and they'll run it down our throats, but damn it, they can also take the top off of defense too. It's just going to give a defense a lot to think about. So I would spend a little more time on that. But again, hard to complain.
I love it. That would be my answer as well. I think, as I said, it's a little hard to answer this right now because we don't know exactly what the staff is going to look like. Like right now, we can't even name the starting O-line. No idea. Right. Like, is Zinner going to be back? Like, who's playing center? Where do you put this Arizona State transfer? Like, is he a left tackle? Is he a right tackle? So there's some moving parts, because we know that Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan offensive staff wants to run the ball, but their O-line is going to be different next year. You might not have Blake Corum. So, like, while I agree with you, Chris, we can look in hindsight and say, all right, we know the running game works. It worked for 13 weeks. Why didn't they spend some time during those first 3 games to throw the ball a little bit and iron that out a little bit? Well, Will they have that luxury next year? Are they going to want to use those 3 games to gel the O-line a little bit when you've got 3 or 4 new guys on it, which is possible? If the 3 interior guys all could leave, Hayes is already you literally might only be bringing back your right tackle for next year's O-line. That's a lot of overhead. That's a lot of turning over that group that works a lot on chemistry. So it's kind of a trick question. I kind of set you up for failure, but I don't disagree. I would still love to see more throwing when you can and when you can work it out a little bit, but you're probably going to have a lot of things to try to figure out ahead of next season.
And by the way, CJ, it wasn't an hour 20 minutes. I brought up Andrella about hour 19. So give me a little credit there. I held off for as long as I possibly could, not giving up on number one quite.
When is the last? Here's my last burning question. When's the last podcast we had where we didn't mention Andrell Anthony, even though he had like 5 catches this year?
Hasn't happened. Every single podcast. I mean, all 100 and I don't know, however many we've done. He's been
in there. He's in
and
there.
It will continue to happen. All right. Here's my final question, Brandon.
All
right. Do you think like the loss of the Burning Questions music has taken away some of the effect of this segment? Because you don't have the flame in the back. You don't have Jim Harbaugh talking about the cockles. Well, whatever. We'll talk about that after the show's over. All right. We were.
I thought that was your question. I'm like, that's pretty good.
No.
All right.
We were certain that once JJ McCarthy took over the starting position, that single season touchdown record of 25 touchdown passes was as good as gone.
Yeah.
And now here we are, 13 wins, JJ sitting at 20 touchdown passes on the season. The record again is 25 touchdown passes. He has at least 1 game left, possibly 2 if they make it to the national championship. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes in a single game 4 times this year, most recently against Purdue in the Big Ten championship game. So my question to you is, A, does J.J. McCarthy break the single season touchdown passing record this year? And if not, where does he finish? What number does he finish at?
I think he gets to 25. I think he gets right to the mark. That just feels like I think he might toss 3 against TCU.
Listen, do you think if he's got 2 and they're in the Natty that Jim Harbaugh is going to try to get him that 3rd somehow, some way?
No.
You don't think it?
No, I don't. Because they probably say, you know what, JJ, you'll throw 40 next year and then not do it. That's probably how it would go. I think he gets like the record is 25, correct? So he'd have to get 26 to beat it.
He'd have to get 26 to beat it.
I think he lands right at 25. I do.
Maybe 4 against TCU, 2 against Georgia or Ohio State.
And by the way, does it in 15 games, which the record was set in 12 or 13.
Listen, that shit don't matter.
100.
That shit don't matter.
30 years ago. No, I don't think he breaks it. I don't.
Unfortunately, I don't think he breaks it either. To me, it would be a travesty. Here's the caveat I'll put in. If they make the national championship and he's sitting at 25, I think they are going to do everything they can to get him that 26th. So if in that instance, I would say, yes, he breaks it. But I guess I'm more leaning towards no. I don't think he does. He either ties or falls just under at 24. Unfortunately,
I'll say this:
could be, you got Donovan Edwards. We know that they're run heavy, and they can lean on Jake Moody a lot if they need to. So there's other factors that I think might prevent that.
It's a good point. But I'm not even going to try that last name, Shem Neuenschwander. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. This is a good thought. Michigan's going to be able to run the ball almost at will against TCU, I think. So, yeah, he might only – what if he throws 1 or none in this next game because they just don't have to? And then –
I don't think that's happening.
I don't know. Well, it's an interesting discussion, but I still – anyway, I think about it, slice it, 2-3, 3-2, 3-3, whatever. I think he gets to 25 at the most, and that's it. Maybe comes up a little short. Yeah, I think 25 is the ceiling. That's a good way to put it. So, there you go, man. There you go.
Is that record as good as gone next year?
We're doing this already. I said it was as good as gone this year, and he played 14 games and couldn't do it. Like, come on. I want it to be way gone. Like, throw a bunch of touchdowns. Here, we're back to it. We're back to it.
Just throw the damn ball.
Just give us some time. We'll get back there. What's wrong with us, dude?
I don't know. We were gonna have a short show tonight, and then we ended up going $1:24. So I did insist on burning questions, and I'm glad that we did. That was even a shortened version of burning questions. Only 3 apiece.
It was. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I've been refreshing this stuff on Mike Leach. Bill Snyder tweeted out that he passed away, which like that seems strange, but he also feels like it also seems like he would know. You know, being another, longtime Big 12 coach and friend, personal friend. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what that ends up.
Hate to speculate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not going to speculate, but it's like, why would he tweet that? Yeah, and there's no other like news outlets really reporting it out there. So yeah, still just
tweets.
That's what I had to look. I had to double check. It was verified. It said
you know about the Bill Snyder from Kansas State.
Yeah, he's like 90. Yeah. Oh, he retracted it. Good God, dude, what are you doing?
That's why Bill Snyder should not be tweeting.
We didn't even do a TFG.
We didn't.
Well, we don't have it. I just don't know if it'll work without the music and the button and all that stuff.
I mean, but listen, you know what didn't happen this entire episode? No echo issues. Well, the audio was fine. And so we know what the issue is. We've got to find a way. See, CJ Frazier, that was what I was going to say, but I didn't want to say it because I felt like I would be a dickhead. Full disclosure, I didn't know Bill Snyder was still alive. He was like old as shit back in the day.
So you're fine with saying that, but if I say a little bit about some red hair, it's just blasphemy.
Well, that's just blasphemous.
All right.
Yes, that's blasphemous. You can speak ill about the old.
We don't. Marking that down too. 126-16. You can speak ill about
listen, I do have a TFG in the hopper. We can save it for Wednesday.
Let's save it till Wednesday. We're at an hour and a half, bro.
Let's go an hour. Look at that TFG. The people who made a big deal about shaking hands.
I didn't even want to like draw attention to that. I was gonna try to write like a clicky story, and I was like, this is so whack. I can't even do it.
I don't even think that was a thing. I don't think it was intentional.
It wasn't. Desmond wasn't even looking, and there were.
I'm saying. He
didn't shake like 9 other guys' hands. Like, what are we doing?
He would have had to have stopped, got Desmond's attention, and then shook his hand. To me, people just wanted to make it, something out of nothing.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, there you go. We're going to just kind of end it there. Plant the flag at midfield and ride off into the sunset. We will be back on Wednesday, 7 o'clock.
Yes, we will be back on Wednesday. And we're coming back with no content. So please bring your questions, bring your topics, whatever it is you want to talk about. We do 0 prep on Wednesday. So we expect you to lead the show. And we'll answer the questions as best as we possibly can without sounding like a couple of dinks.
Just a phenomenal teaser and advertisement and commercial for Wednesday. We do 0 prep. Like
0 prep.
We show up. We don't even have
drinking.
We don't even have pants on Wednesday. Full stop.
I do want to say this. Thank you to Mediascapes, as always. Yep. Rich, the team over there, obviously they've been a sponsor all season, have done just a ton in terms of helping our business grow and our shows and what we tried to do with Rosie, and also the Army National Guard, who's been a huge part of what we've done this year as well. Big contributor to everything, and couldn't be more grateful for their participation and their belief in us and who we are and what we do, and hope to see those partnerships continue in the future. But without the soundboard, obviously we're not able to run some of the audio we wanted to run, but wanted to thank those guys before we get out of here.
Real quick, I'll throw it up just so, because we always do the website, mediascapes.com with a K, the phone number, the location. Rich, big shout out over there. Everybody that makes everything flow. I mean, everything we've needed from them. I'm sure they've been that way with everyone else they work with. So there you go. Good stuff from Rich and his team. No doubt. Chris, does this deserve, does he deserve any kind of couple show ban? I mean, CJ's curious if we prep for anything that we do. I don't know what to do with that.
We prep a little bit. On like some of the other shows, but you can't prep too much, because if you prep too much, then you're over prepared. There is such. What is that? A dick? What are you drawing over there?
I don't remember what that was. There's a
what swirly... in the hell? So, like a winged creature flying into a black hole? Are you doing quantum physics over there?
Trying to figure out the starting offensive line. There's the quarterback thing, Staquavius. I did say, look, there's JJ Max Duggan, could be interchangeable. I went with the Dougmeister at number 1. Let me find another page of note. Oh, this one's strong. A lot of good content on here.
Just a giant 21.5.
Couldn't even tell you.
Like a 4-year-old was practicing their numbers.
Couldn't even tell you what that one.
I don't even have paper around me.
Another solid page here. I'm not even really sure. There
you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and look how good the show is.
I mean, you can still go. You can still go $130 with almost no prep.
Imagine if we had a team.
That's why you don't want us preparing, because if we did prepare, this thing would go on for 3 hours. It would be ridiculous.
I do have Chris once upon a time drew a picture of a Michigan football player with penises for hands. That's a fact. That really happened.
Did I?
Yeah. That's what I was trying to remember which notebook it was in. It might be this one. We were on the plane somewhere, and I was like, dude, if you didn't know, Chris and I are both artists. I said, dude, let's draw a picture. And I handed him a notebook, and I drew one, and he handed it back, and there's mine. There's my drawing. So look at that.
Look at you. So it has to be the same notebook then.
No, this was the one I had. I gave you a different one. Yeah.
Okay. I see.
This was Michigan going down to South Beach, getting ready to play in a bowl game. JJ, little stiff arm.
No love to Cade McNamara whatsoever.
Nah. We don't do that around here. We should know that by now.
Yeah, your boy's been known to draw a different.
I'm upset now. I'm upset that I can't. That's another little tribal dude. I mean, we're really all right, dude. It's time to go. I'll try to for Wednesday's show.
Please, for the love of God, do not bring the dick.
No. If I find it, it's going up. That's all I'm gonna say. So be here on Wednesday. Dick picture drawings galore, fan led, no prep, maybe some singing, beer. We love you guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Wednesday.
Appreciate you.